In 1814, in Serbian territory, a platoon of Napoleon soldiers pushed out of the Illyrian provinces was lost and on the verge of starvation. The screen then fades to the man's face. He's a soldier troop captain with another young man, Marco, in the jungle, lost and looking for something to eat. They look terrified and malnourished. Both take cautious steps and hear a sound. Marco points his gun in that direction and sees a woman with a horse. The woman looks at them with a grim smile and gives them the house, and the older man keeps an eye on the surroundings while going in their direction. They return to the other soldiers, and one of them gives a knife to a young soldier. As soon as he's about to slaughter the horse to eat, it explodes, and from inside the horse becomes a monster, and everyone is covered in blood. The captain runs to save his life, but the monster catches him. The screen then fades to a man standing on the edge of a lake, his truck parked there. He's looking at the site. As soon as he turns, it's the French captain. The screen then fades to a construction site. Presently, an American oil fracking team is digging for oil at the same site. The team is led by Emily, an entrepreneur who turned to oil fracking after her solar panel business failed. Now she's making money from a less eco-friendly industry. Emily walks in and asks two workers to smoke and take breaks to ask them to work their lazy asses. Emily comes inside the office. Nicola is mumbling to himself, "This is ridiculous." At the same site, two ecological scientists, Professor Mikola and his assistant Sophia, are working to ensure that an endangered species called P is not harmed. These rabbit-like animals are rumored to exist in large numbers, but there's no solid proof yet. Sophia has DNA testing equipment to identify their presence using organic material. A portable lab has been set up at the site just for this purpose, as the Serbian government is seriously treating the matter. Emily tells all the boosters to run off our satellite. She's talking, and John walks into the office. She asks John how the road condition is, and John tells her it's a no-go. The river is getting higher than the roads, and the situation is terrible. He says, "I told you not to come to Serbia." Nicola then asks Emily to give him an ETA for breaking ground. She asks him to tell her because he's the one who signed the permit to dig in the grounds. But if they can start on a mouse hole, that would be great. Nicola tells Emily she knows everything. He can sign off if needed. Sophia turns around and says there's a whole world underground full of imagination, and new technology can identify the habitats by the dirt or hair. Then John and Nicola argue. John says he didn't choose to drill here, he was told, and Nicola says good luck finding something. Sophia then talks more about facts and tries to turn the mood around, but Nicola cuts her off and says, "Let's get back to work." Sophia has 2 degrees and is doing a PhD in nickel. After conducting a thorough DNA survey at the site, Nicola and Sophia found no evidence of P's habitat being here. They gave their green signal to drill and decided to leave this place, but since the roads were blocked, they were also stuck here like the rest of the crew. John in the office is getting angry at Emily about Sophia's pay scale, saying she is above his pay grade. Teddy, Emily's nephew, walks into the office and says hello to John. Teddy cracks a joke about the food that he is making, and Emily tells him to make something simple so that everyone can enjoy it. Teddy then asks about Sophia, the professor intern. He's crushing over her, and his aunt tells him not to make such moves. Teddy then leaves, and Nicola walks in with some contract. He wants to start the digging process and tells Emily that the process is going to start now. Sophia stays back, thanks John and Emily, and asks if she can help in the kitchen. She shows interest in Teddy. Emily is surprised, but tells her that she definitely can help. They start to dig now. The crew is waiting to find something, but the machine starts making weird sounds and smells terrible. The crew asks if it's Mateen, but Emily says it must be dirt. Emily signals to dig again and again. The sound is harsh. John asks if Emily thinks it's jasperite, and Nicola comes in from behind and says there is no jasperite in this area, and it would not smell this bad. Teddy walks in and tries to crack a joke, and Emily shuts her down and tells him to dig a hole and dispose of it properly. Nicola asks Emily to turn off the drill and see the smell, and she agrees. Sophia and Teddy go to dispose of the trash. On the other side, Teddy tells and talks to Sophia and tells her that he wants to be a stay-at-home dad, but he has to pay some bills too, so that's why he's here with his aunt. In the digging area, they take out the drill machine, which has some flash attached to it. Emily says she thinks we have hit the bunny hole, and Nicola looks at her and tells her these are not bunnies. On the other side, Teddy and Sophia are getting help from a guy to dig another hole to dispose of the trash, and they see something in the mud underneath. It's a body that stinks like it did when they dug the hole in the drilling area. They examine it, and a hand stretches out of that cocoon. A man comes out of this slime cocoon, and he's speaking French. He's asking for help. It's the Napian soldier Marco. In the office, Emily and John are worried. They are stuck. There's no internet, no phone network, and no way to contact security. Emily says they should keep the guy warm and safe, to which John replies, "Why not keep ourselves safe? Who knows if he's a real human?" Emily asks John to get Serbian authorities to come and check out the guy because they don't want their company to stir up the mess. On the other side, Nicola, Teddy, and Sofia give water to Marco, and Nicola asks Teddy to talk to the guy because he took French in university. Teddy tries to talk to Marco, and he goes out of control. Nicola stops him and he sees something come out of his nose. Marco tries to talk to them and ask for help. He gives sign language to Teddy on the neck to kill him, but no one understands. Nicola asked the others if they had seen it, but unfortunately, they hadn't noticed anything. When Emily arrived to check on them, the Frenchman recognized she was in charge. Peculiarly, he made a gesture as if to decapitate himself, shocking everyone. Nicola took Emily and Sofia outside to discuss what he had witnessed. The Frenchman was reeking of a terrible stench, the same foul smell from the drill hole. Sofia suggested there might be a connection between the two. Since the lab had the equipment for DNA testing, Nicola seemed oddly thrilled and excited at the prospect of discovering something new. He even asked aloud, "How did this guy survive?" Nicola and Sofia collected blood and DNA samples from the Frenchman. John held him tightly to keep him steady, which frightened the man. Suddenly, a parasite-like creature emerged from his ear, terrifying everyone who witnessed it. Emily tries talking to the Frenchman again, but he continues insisting on decapitation. Frustrated, Emily locks him in the room and instructs everyone to stay away from him. She orders the oil extraction to stop until the police arrive. Later, Teddy prepares some bread and toast for the man. After getting Emily's permission, John goes to feed him. At first, the Frenchman eats the bread, but as soon as he spots John's knife, he begins making throat-cutting gestures again. He pleads for someone to kill him. When John refuses, the man attacks him and grabs the knife, attempting to end his life. However, something strange happens. A force from within stops him. No matter how hard he tries, he cannot kill himself. Suddenly, parasite-like creatures emerge from his eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. John witnesses this horrifying scene, leaving him terrified. When the man starts straining John, the parasite leaps out of his body and directly enters John's. The Frenchman's body rapidly decays, resembling a 200-year-old mummy. In shock, John doesn't understand what has just happened. He rushes to call Emily and Teddy but lies to them, saying, "I gave him a sandwich and went out to pee. When I came back, he was in this state." Emily is shocked by what she sees and wonders how a living man could turn into a 200-year-old mummy in just a few minutes. All the crew members had seen the Frenchman alive earlier that day. If they saw the mummified body, Emily knew she could face serious legal trouble. One alarming detail was that the foul smell previously coming from the Frenchman was now emanating from John's body. Concerned, Emily sends John to take a bath. Meanwhile, Nicola and Sofia return with their test results, looking very excited. It seemed they had discovered something significant. However, their enthusiasm dampens when they see the dead body. Sofia begins explaining their findings. She says, "We tested the skin samples from that man under a microscope and found that his cells have evolved beyond human cells. His body cells are a mix of two species. Inside each cell is a nucleus that indicates another organism is growing within it. These two organisms are completely symbiotic, meaning they rely on each other to survive." Sofia continues, "The parasite inside that Frenchman can live for years. By analyzing the DNA, we discovered it matches an octopus species called Argonauta found in the sea." She then explains the Argonaut octopus's reproduction process. When an Argonaut octopus reproduces, the male detaches one of its tentacles and places it inside the female. The female creates an organic shell around it until the eggs are fertilized. Once the process is complete, a new octopus is born. Sofia theorizes that a similar octopus was inside the Frenchman. She suggests it was born from the union of a human and an Argonaut octopus, creating a hybrid species, a baby man-Argonaut hybrid octopus. This hybrid now needs a human host to survive. Sofia and Nicola were thrilled. They had discovered an entirely new species. Meanwhile, in another room, John recounted everything that had happened to him to his friend Christian. Christian, however, laughed at him and dismissed his story. Christian first challenged John to an arm wrestling match to prove there was nothing wrong. When that failed, Christian began provoking John by hitting him. This agitation awakened the parasite inside John, who lashed out, attacking Christian and causing him to fall onto a table. The impact killed Christian due to blunt force trauma. Shocked and horrified, John decided to dispose of Christian's body. While John was dumping the body, two men, Danko and Philip, arrived at the scene. Philip panicked and pointed a gun at John, accusing him of killing Christian. Danko tried to de-escalate the situation, but Philip accidentally fired the weapon during the scuffle. The bullet ricocheted, hitting and killing him instead. At that moment, the parasite inside John exploded out of his body, killing him violently and splattering blood everywhere. Drenched in the infected blood, Danko became shell-shocked as he too was infected by the creature. Like the Frenchman, Danko began trying to kill himself, this time with a gun, but the parasite inside him prevented it every time. Emily and her crew witnessed the entire horrifying scene firsthand. Danko handed the gun to Emily, begging her to kill him. He recounted everything that had happened with John, Philip, and Christian. The crew, terrified and restless, started to believe that Danko was cursed for uncovering the Frenchman's body and had contracted some virus driving him insane. Given the lax laws in this Balkan state, the crew was tempted to grant Danko's desperate request, but Emily and Teddy hesitated, hoping to find a way to save him. Nicola and Safia began to argue. Nicola believed Danko should be kept alive to nourish the creature until it matured and left his body, viewing it as a groundbreaking scientific discovery. Safia, on the other hand, saw the creature as a dangerous parasite that threatened everyone. The debate about whether all creatures have a right to life grew heated, but Nicola's comparison didn't sit well with the others. Finally, Emily made the difficult decision. She gave her crew the go-ahead to end Danko's suffering in the wilderness. This site is at least 30 kilometers from the nearest city, and the creature needs a male body to survive. If they kill Danko and there's no man nearby for it to jump to, there's a chance the creature could die. Teddy wasn't sure whether their actions were right as the beast was trying to survive. Safija eased his dilemma by saying, all creatures have the right to life, but not at the cost of a family man. They took Danko deep into the wilderness and shot him. Like with John, the octopus exploded from Danko's body and began chasing the remaining men. It jumped from one man to another, causing each to die in a chaotic mutual shootout as they tried to kill it. Finally, the creature ends up in Luca, who manages to return to the base where Emily and the others are preparing to leave. Luca explained what had happened and decided to kill himself by drowning. Nicola once again tried to save the creature, arguing for its survival, but Luca dismissed him as a nutcase. Luca slowly walked into the water, swimming far enough to ensure the creature's death. But alas, it was a baby hybrid octopus. As Emily and the others watched in horror, the beast swam back to the shore and leaped onto Nicola. The man who had been advocating for the creature's survival now began begging Safija to kill him. Perhaps only the bearer of the parasite truly understands its torment. Safija stabbed Nicola and cut off one of the creature's tentacles before running away with Teddy. After Nicola's death, the creature attacked Emily and started chasing Teddy. The final scene shows Safia and Teddy in a hotel room. Teddy is visibly terrified, while a newspaper headline reports that all the other crew members had died in a mysterious accident. As the movie concludes, it becomes evident that the creature is now inside Teddy. Safija, always the scientist, studies him while pondering what to do next. Teddy, who had always wanted to be a father, now faces an uncertain fate. As Nicola had once suggested, perhaps the baby octopus will grow and leave Teddy's body intact, or it might live inside him forever. Safia has her ultimate test subject, but her stance clarifies that she will eventually kill the creature. The movie ends here.